All right, welcome back inside our HQ studios. Jeremy St. Louis alongside Haley Sutton, Brady Quinn, Pete Prisco. Time now to do some picks. We got week 3 wagers. We were going to have a scoreboard up about how they're doing, but these guys, there's some serious disagreement about who's ahead.
My record's right out of
well, yeah, because you're winning. So you think you're...
He's complaining about his record.
Well, I got off to a 4-1 start, and apparently I just missed every single pick in the late games. Yeah,
right over.
I followed Prisco right off the ledge.
By the way, he mushed me last week because I had a great week 1, and then he said, "Oh, you're going to come back. It's natural. You do it every year."
Yeah, every year.
I had a bad week.
You fall off week 2.
I had a bad week.
Yeah, most good teams come back week 2. You don't.
All right, let's get into some picks this week. Let's start with the Thursday night game. It has the Niners favored by 10 points as the G-men come calling. This total at 45. Brady, what do you got here?
I'm laying the points with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't feel good about this. This is a big number. And if you look at the second half, obviously, of last week's game with the Giants, they figured some things out offensively speaking. Now, they're going to have a hard time protecting Daniel Jones. They don't have Saquon Barkley, which really their offense has kind of been able to run through that. So for that reason, that's why I feel confident with, as people say, the home opener there in Santa Clara. Such a raucous crowd. But it's more about that pass rush getting on top of Daniel Jones and not allowing them to have much of an opportunity to push the football down the field. But if you go look at the 49ers, Pete, when Brandon Ayuk wasn't out there, they struggled to move the football. It sounds like he's going to be a game-time decision, so that's a little concerning with such a big number.
It is, and you're right, it is a big number, but it's Thursday night. They stayed on the West Coast. It's a home opener. They don't have Saquon Barkley, although they say magically he could play. There's no way he's playing.
Coaches speak.
Well, they also called it an ordinary ankle sprain.
Right.
I was like, what does that mean?
Right. Ordinary. There's nothing ordinary about an ankle sprain. He's not going to play. 49ers, home after 2 wins on the road. They will handle business here. You don't like it. I like it more than you do.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to another matchup, guys. Buffalo at Washington. The Bills are the 6.5-point favorite, but Washington 2-0 for their first time since 2011. They're looking for their first 3-0 start since 05 after that big win over the Broncos on Sunday. Brady, I'll go to you first. Who's your pick on this one?
Well, I'm going with the Washington Commanders, and in part because this number is just pretty big for a home underdog in this case. And Sam Howell's played phenomenal. Give a lot of credit to Eric Bieniemy, their offensive staff, of scheming some things up. Pete, you've been talking about their defense, and you're right. I don't care if it's the edges now with Chase Young back or the interior with Deron Payne. They can get pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and this Buffalo team has been pushed around. So I'm not saying Washington wins this one, but they're going to have a fighting chance. This is one that might come down to the very end of the game. It's going to be tight, so I'll take the 6.5 points in Washington at home.
I was on the Commanders in June. I was. I picked them to win.
To your credit, they were, but I'm also not saying they win this game.
No, I'm not saying they're going to win the game either, but they're going to hang around, and you mentioned the reasons why. Sam Howell's playing really good football. He really is. Eric Bieniemy, you got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done with that offense. Their offensive line has issues as well, though. He's been running for his life. But the other side, that defensive line will get after Josh Allen, and that's a problem because it's not just you can't. They're going to cut pressure in the middle. They're going to get pressure on the edge. It's hard for him to escape, and I think that's going to be a problem. It's close. Bills probably win the game, but I'm taking the Commanders as well.
Well, and as we've seen, Josh Allen, he's been playing with fire, as well as limit the turnovers, but playing with fire in terms of throwing into some of those coverages. All right, perhaps one of the early season surprises so far is the Buccaneers at 2-0. Eagles at 2-0. I mean, not so much. They clash this week in Tampa. Eagles are sitting as a 5.5 road favorites here. The total at 46. Pete?
I'm taking the Bucs. I'm taking the Bucs. Plus
I like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't think the Eagles have looked right yet, and they just haven't. There's something off, and I know you're coming off a Super Bowl loss, and there's all the Super Bowl hangover talk. This is too talented a team to be playing the way they played, and they won the game, so kudos to them. If you don't play well and you win, that tells you you're a really good team. I just think the Bucs are going to hang around. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the game, but 5.5. Baker Mayfield's playing well. The defense has a lot of talent. The Eagles have had some issues in terms of their offensive line, which is surprising, by the way. They can get after the quarterback in Tampa. I think Tampa hangs around. I'll take the 5.5.
Shocking. This is one of those matchups. I was really on the fence on this one about which direction to lean. I just feel like eventually Philly's going to turn this thing on, and this is maybe that game, even though, to your point, the offensive line for Philly hasn't been great, but I also feel like this is a game where maybe they get back right. But look, give Baker Mayfield a lot of credit. He's been phenomenal. He's lit a fire under this offense in Tampa. I think he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations of what this team would be. Some people feel like this offense looks better this year than what it did last year under Tom Brady, and they're even kind of starting to say, hey, maybe Cleveland Cleveland wishes they would have kept Baker Mayfield instead of moving on for Deshaun Watson based on how this looks. That being said, though,
you want to flip-flop like you did last week.
I'm sticking with the Eagles. I think the Eagles start to look like the Eagles we thought they were the first couple weeks. In week 3, they get back on track. I'll lay the 5.5 points.
All right, so Eagles, but in Baker we believe. We love to see it. All right, Vegas is putting their faith in Cincinnati to bounce back this week, even though it's not by very much. They'll take on the 1-1 Rams, but as we just talked about, Joe Burrow not healthy with that calf issue. A lot of things going wrong for that Cincinnati team. Pete, what's your pick on this week?
I'm picking the Bengals, and I think Joe Burrow's going to play. Some form or fashion of him is going to be out there. And like you said, you have to have him out there. I think the Rams are overachieved. And the Rams are going to be feisty week in and week out. John McVay's too good a coach. I think when you look at the young players, they play hard, they play tough. But this is a bad spot. You're going against a team that is so desperate, a team that's supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. Your Super Bowl pick, by the way. I hate to tell you that. You picked them to win the Super Bowl.
Hey, my MVP pick, too, Joe Burrow. So.
Well, Joe Burrow better pick it up.
I know.
I think this is the week they get it going a little bit. I think they cover the number.
I'm with you. I think they cover the number. Burrow plays. To me, it really comes down to the defense for the Bengals. Can they play up to snuff? This is supposed to be a better group than what we've seen so far this year. And so here's the game plan. Cover Puka Nacua for the Rams. My goodness, he's averaging 12.5 receptions per game. He's on pace for like 217 receptions this season. Just cover him. The Rams don't have much else. Kyron Williams has been pitching in out of the backfield. My Notre Dame guy's done well. This is a game, though, where I think the defense has to start helping out, carrying Cincinnati until Burrow gets back healthy, until he starts to look like himself again. So I'll lay the 2.5 points with the Bengals at home. I think they take care of business on Monday Night Football.
I wonder what the Rams are going to do when Cooper Kupp comes back. Because all of a sudden, he's playing the Cooper Kupp role, Puka Nacua.
I mean, think about this. Michael Thomas set the record at 149 receptions. And even when Kupp comes back, Nacua is probably their number 2 option, if you're really breaking this thing down.
Well, he is.
Yeah. Well, he's number 1 right now.
Well,
I mean, the way they're getting him to football, it's incredible. Like, he legitimately, with a few more weeks, if he keeps this up, is going to be able to break that record. I don't think it's going to be even debatable at that point.
I want to read a stat real quick about Puka while we've got it, because I got it circled on here. 25 receptions this season, the 3rd most through 2 games of a season in NFL history, and the most by any player in his first 2 career games.
It's incredible.
He's really on pace to do
and he wasn't a guy that we looked at and say he's a first-round pick. He's going to go in and change this. He wasn't. He was tremendous during his time at BYU, the way they moved around, his versatility, and that's how Sean McVay is utilizing him.
It is only 2 games, like you said, though. Let's see.
Hey, a guy with belief? Come on.
Small body
Who
of
else
work.
they got to throw to?
Small body of work.
A guy with belief. Oh, Pete.
He's a hater. You're just a hater.
Nothing like raining on a parade.
Unbelievable.
Hey, he said that when I was talking about the Browns, didn't he? 2 games when I was killing Deshaun Watson.
I'm just saying the way they move him around, he's the only guy they're throwing to right now.
He's good.
Pete, you play that get off my lawn guy to perfection.
No.
Let's talk about some best bets. Brady, what do you got for a best bet in week 3 for us?
I've got the Chiefs Bears over. It's set at 44.5. I think this is a spot where Kansas City puts up a huge number and hits that over. Look, the Bears are having a hard time getting pressure on anyone. We know about their offensive woes, too. I think that's going to get the Chiefs the football back a number of times. So the Chiefs offense hasn't looked great. There's been a lot of conversation about that. They got Kelsey back now. I think that's going to add to it. Someone's going to emerge as that consistent piece, reliable piece for Patrick Mahomes in the passing game, a wide receiver outside of just Kelsey.
Like it. I'm going with an over as well. Chargers-Vikings over. In large part because Brendan Staley can't get his defense to do anything. They are awful. This guy's supposed to be a defensive wizard. He has pass rushers that can get after the quarterback. He's got Derwin James on the back end, and they can't stop anybody. Kirk Cousins was really good against the Eagles. He was fantastic. Jefferson hasn't had a touchdown. He's going to get 1, maybe 2 in this game, and Justin Herbert will get his on the other side as well. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. It's a big number, by the way, 53.5.
I think it's the highest of the year so far.
I think the fishing hook is and I'm biting, so I'm a fish because it looks too obvious.
Are you hooked, though, or have you already been reeled in? You're
I'm
just
hooked. I'm hooked. Well, I can't get off the hook. There's no conceivable way I'm getting off the hook.
Why don't you speak a 17-10 ball game?
Right? Yeah. Defensive struggle. Yeah.
Or remember it on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn making their Week 3 NFL picks with us here on HQ. Pete and Brady battling. Maybe next week we'll have the correct scoreboard.
I don't know. We had so many of the same picks this week.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you're making up ground, it's going to be a little bit tough as we take a look at the picks. I mean, both like San Francisco. Brady's going with the over-under difference in the Commanders-Bills game. In terms of the Eagles, Brady likes Philly at the 5.5. Pete likes Tampa and the under. They're both going Cincy. And best bet for Week 3, they're both taking overs.